Hello, everyone. My name is Atalanda, and this is Solarpunking, where we discuss solarpunk ideology, things we can do in our communities to make them better, and ways to build the world that we want to live in. Happy Pride Month! I'm so happy to be back, but I wish I had been able to return sooner. But now that I'm here, we have to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it. Why do we have to talk about it? Because this is blatant, in-your-face evidence of the corruption of the capitalist system, and it would be wholly irresponsible of me not to talk about it. The Epstein class are hoarding wealth and resources like cartoon dragons while the rest of us suffer, and we have to drive home the point that we don't have to accept this selfish, greedy, destructive behavior to the detriment of our society. So, let's talk about it. We now have the world's first trillionaire. And to be honest, I think we as humans have a hard time even conceptualizing what $1 trillion looks like. I'm a former mathematics tutor, and I offered my services up to pre-cal because I wasn't 100% confident in my abilities to teach calculus. I also briefly dated a mathematician, and we used to enjoy games like Pythagorean together. However, I still have a hard time mentally visualizing $1 trillion. Because, I know 1,000,000 is 1,000 thousands, right? So if I had 1,000 stacks of $1,000, then I'd be a millionaire. If I worked every day and wanted to reach $1 million in a single year, I'd need a job where I made $2,739 a day, or in an 8-hour workday, $342 an hour. And this makes sense, right? It's not too far-fetched or hard to conceptualize that. I can even think of a few positions where making $300 an hour is a realistic possibility, even though I personally have never gotten remotely close to that pay rate. Think about what you personally would need to live a decent, comfortable life. It doesn't really matter what country you live in. I guess go all out if you live in a place where the cost of living is reasonable. Get yourself a yacht if you want. Eat at nice restaurants every day, or hire a personal chef. Buy a couple cars, a comfortable mansion. You probably approach maybe $20 million on a reasonable estimate. I'll choose something super extravagant for this thought exercise. So something like a 4,000 square foot home in Denver, Colorado, a brand new 2026 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, 10 acres of land, which I guess we'll have to estimate because according to Zillow, finding that in Denver would be near impossible. So let's just say in a nearby city. A 2026 Solaris Power 70-foot yacht just for funsies, a personal chef for a full year, and let's just throw in an extra $1 million for vacations, shopping, and fine dining on dates when my chef is off duty. So for this exercise, this is what I would imagine would be a comfortable lifestyle. I'm going to pretend that we're paying for everything outright, so there are no monthly payments, and the only recurring costs would be the personal chef and the $1 million of extra leisure expenses. So the house would be $2.2 million, the car would be $180K, 10 acres would be about $2 million, a yacht would be $4.3 million, a personal chef would be about $100K, just to be generous. I don't really know what personal chefs make. I looked this up on Google. And then $1 million for the extra expenses, right? All of that would only cost me about $9.78 million. Let's just say $10 million, just to round it off. Now consider $1 billion. $1 billion is 1,000 millions. There's a webpage simulation we can use for this called spendthebillions.com, where you can really see how much it takes to spend such an immense amount of wealth. So let's see. First, I would choose to end world hunger for 10 years, which I think if you're using a growth strategy, you wouldn't need more than 10 years because world hunger is not an issue of food scarcity for the most part, but one of logistics, right? This is why charities like the World Food Program and World Central Kitchen are so effective because they're able to bring the resources to the locations and communities that need them. They aren't out there like farming food that doesn't exist yet. So, anyway, end world hunger for 10 years, according to Spend the Billions, would be about $450 billion. Next, I'm choosing to fund cancer research. So cancer research is tricky because there are over like 100 different diseases that just fall under the umbrella term cancer. And according to cancer.gov, each person's cancer has a unique combination of genetic changes. So as the cancer continues to grow, additional changes will occur. And even within the same tumor, different cells may have different genetic changes. So it's a little more nuanced than rapid cell growth, and I don't know if funding cancer research for 10 years would be enough to cure a significant number of specific cancers, but I do know it would make a huge difference in our understanding of how cancer affects the body. So funding research for 10 years would be $500 billion according to Spend the Billions. And remember, we're talking about benefiting humanity here, not just the US. And lastly, I would choose Project Clean Water for All. Now, I am a proud crusader for clean water access because water's life, and it's the most important struggle we're going to face in the upcoming decades due to extreme drought caused by climate change. Millions of people currently don't have access to clean water globally, and millions more are going to lose access when their resources dry up, are contaminated by pollution, or become salinated and unusable. So for sure, I am going to choose clean water for all. And according to this simulator, it'll cost about $80 billion over 10 years. So let's total it up. 10 years funding world hunger globally, funding cancer research globally, and providing clean water for every human on the planet would cost $1.03 trillion. That's $1 trillion for the whole world for 10 years. Consider $1 trillion. If 1 million is 1,000 thousands and 1 billion is 1,000 millions, $1 trillion is 1 million millions. Think about that. One man has control over that unfathomably large hoard of wealth. That is absolutely wild and just, I can't accept it. But here's the kicker. That same man is actually worth 1.1 trillion, which means we didn't even spend all of his money with our philanthropy experiment. He would still have $70 billion left to fund our $10 million lavish lifestyle 7,000 times over. And I had to double check that math because it's so crazy. It didn't seem right. And it's not. No human being has provided $1.1 trillion worth of labor. That is the result of an exploitative, dangerous system that builds wealth off the backs of the working class people by stealing the wealth and resources that they build from under them. And I was going to provide some of the commonly traded clips from Robert Reich and Bernie Sanders that explain why billionaires are so toxic to our system. But I'm going to go even further than that and just say that they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't. And it's gross that they do. These people are so detached from the human experience at that level of wealth that they are able to dramatically influence our lives without our consent, and they could not care less how we feel about it. We are pawns to be moved for these people, mere inconveniences to their goals. And if we don't find a way to redistribute our resources and create a more equitable system for all of us, this small group of vacuous husks are going to hoard and hoard resources until the rest of us have absolutely nothing, including a home planet. And for all the calls for taxation and getting money out of politics, no one explains the actual issue better than this subway take between Kareem Rama and Amani. So let her cook.
So what's your take?
Billionaires shouldn't exist.
100% agree.
We have to abolish the ability to become a billionaire. Like, there's no reason why a handful of people have the majority of the world's wealth that can fit into one room. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is starving and there are people that can't afford insulin.
I agree with you.
Why are we still letting it happen?
I think the common person's just dumb.
Well, no duh. That's why billionaires are literally gutting out our government right now as we speak.
Who are we supposed to call?
We outnumber the billionaires. And when we wake up, when we rise up to take back our power, we have to be able to push back against this minority of a handful of people.
Do you want to eat the rich?
Absolutely.
Would you eat Rihanna?
She's a special case. I feel like we can talk some sense into Rihanna. But when we let billionaires, literally, as it's happening right now, completely change the rules of the game to make them wealthier and us poorer, then that's the only result that we're gonna live with. But you have to get to the root cause of it, of why billionaires exist in the first place. But there is this very common assumption that billionaires exist because they earned their spot there, because that takes hard work. And while that's aspirational, they dangle it in front of our faces like we have a chance of becoming billionaires when we're more likely to become homeless than we are ever to even see a million.
Let her cook.
So because of that, it's necessary for us to not look at billionaires like these aspirational names on Forbes list, but rather to be shamed from society and alienated from society. And we have to revisit the rules that allowed them to become billionaires in the first place.
I agree with you. You should run for office.
I did. And I lost.
Next time you should win.
Yeah. Now, imagine trillionaires. Thanks for listening to the 23rd episode of Solarpunking. We made it! And welcome to our new friends and happy Pride Month to everybody. If you've enjoyed listening so far, consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family members that you think would also like to join the movement. Also, consider leaving me a comment to let me know what you liked and what you didn't like. If you have excess funds, consider donating to the Transgender Law Center, the largest national trans-led organization advocating self-determination for all people. To find out more, visit transgenderlawcenter.org. And until next week, stay hydrated and motivated. Peace.